Hello everyone. A little bit late getting set up today. I just didn't have as much time as usual. Hopefully you can hear and see me. I see Quindy saying hello. Part of not being ready, or as ready as usual, however ready you think that might be, is that I did not shake my paints in advance the way I usually say that I did. So I will have to shake them on screen. Hopefully I'll use my gizmo, but hopefully it won't be too annoying. And if it is, let me know and I'll mute when I do that. But I'm just gonna back up for a minute so I can say Happy Thanksgiving from a Canadian expat. This is our traditional attire. No, it is not. Actually, I bought this to go to miniature conventions because Aaron Lovejoy and I think Jess Rich as well commented on the fact that I really did say sorry. And so they would joke around and say it, you know, in an exaggerated Canadian accent. So I saw this shirt for sale somewhere and I'm like, well, I have to get that to wear to amuse them. But now, since my setup has changed and I don't think it works very well to try to keep my face on camera because there's just lights that you would be staring at, I'm going to switch over to my main view. And what am I going to do today? I said that I wanted to try to do something for, Canadian Thanksgiving, since one of the fun things about being on Mondays is I do get to kind of do a lot of holiday-related content, I guess. Because I want to. I mean, I'm not saying anyone's making me. I don't know. This is how MMORPGs and stuff suck me in sometimes, because they'll do, like, holiday festivals and stuff like that. And I don't know why. I find that fun. I just realized that I had some miniatures over there that probably shouldn't be there because I will knock into them and they're real metal and that might not go well for them. So, all right. First, I will, if you missed him last week, this is Cadarg. Look, I got a blister one now, so we don't have to rely on my sad memory. Cadarg, the Scarneck Hobgoblin. As you can see from the little strings of material, he is a 3D print, which is how you get these. Yeah, if you can just see his little tiny choppers. There's some other nice details on there, and they're already painted little choppers. So this is the mini of the month over on the Reaper website. So if you buy, X amount of minimum purchase, you get one of these guys for free, or you can just go grab one. Here's my camera. Trying to test me. Yes, always. And I haven't been working on blog posts as much. It was starting to take up just more and more time. I think I was getting a little too in my head with the writing. But I am going to try and do a quick post on him and include the colors that I used, or at least some of the colors that I used. And this is in the continuing series of Ron asking me to paint characters that are supposed to be dark and dreary, which is always a challenge because you're not going to have the full value range to play with. There really isn't any white, pure white on him. Even the NMM reflections aren't quite pure white. And then you also don't have a lot of hue contrast to play with. So this is an orange-blue color scheme, but like the blue is so desaturated that the average person isn't really gonna. You can kind of see it a little bit in the NMM. And originally I tried to do the NMM in a warm gray, and it just didn't work. Like you couldn't see it against the black and brown leather at all. Like I had done this side, I think. And I left it on my shelf like I like to do. And I would walk by and go, like, I can barely see those plates unless I, start standing closer and closer to the miniature. So the next time I sat down, I was like, well, I think I need to at least do some temperature contrast. So if I shift the grays a little blue, it should play off the warm. And that did work. But this is Ron's miniature. So I'm going to back up and put it in a safer place. Because if you've been here before, you know I'm lazy. Or not lazy. I am lazy. But I'm also clumsy. Which is dangerous for Ron's miniatures. But today, to paint something for... Oh, and then last week I was working on this guy, Mako the Tiki Shark, who is a charity fundraising miniature for the victims of the Maui wildfires. So if you go buy this off the Reaper site, they give $7.50 of every purchase to the charity. Trashorama asks me, what percentage of these studio models get sent to Texas versus you keep in Bird HQ? The vast majority go to Texas. Very occasionally, I'll have something where I just decide I want to keep it. And I might paint Ron another one, or maybe not. I don't know. It is very occasional. I think there was the Mermaid Sophie a couple years ago was one I did that with. And then I think I also wanted to keep the dungeon delving Sophie from last year, because I had like really gone to town on the non-metallic metal and kind of was trying to push a little bit differently than how I normally do it. So I do like to keep a miniature every now and then that marks my progress or a point in time of how I'm painting or something. And I really just haven't been doing contest entries on their own for a long time. So it does end up that occasionally I'm like, Ron, I don't want to give you this one. Sorry. The Frost Giantess was another one like that. Ron probably wouldn't have wanted to pay what I would have wanted to charge him. So that one worked out for everybody, I think. But most of the time I'm painting with the understanding that it's going to Ron. I usually don't ship things in the mail. Reaper has had a few things go amiss in the mail system from sculptors and painters, I think. So we save it up for like ReaperCon or something and bring stuff in then. All right, just gotta figure out where to put my paper towels and stuff. Whenever possible. I mean, have I shipped? I don't think that I've shipped. You know, usually what he needs is the pictures immediately, and it's okay to wait to have the actual miniature in his possession. So I didn't really plan out a color scheme in advance. I've got the Learn to Paint kit colors plus the expansions. I imagine that Queenie's going to hopefully pop a link up to those. And then I have the little tub of paints from painting Cadarg. And then if you were here, I want to say 3 weeks ago, these are test colors that I painted to decide on the skin color for Cadarg, because one wanted it to be related to the goblins that I had painted that were in, I want to say Kickstarter 5. There was like a big band of goblins, and 2 of them were on wargs. So hobgoblins are supposed to be like a darker, deeper orange, I think is what he said, and then have blue noses, which was an interesting part of that. And then I used the same blue as from the armor, or that I mixed into the grays for the armor, you know, for color harmony and all that good stuff. Today I want to paint, this is Tub, I think. Tub the Dwarf Baker. This is one of the characters from Brine Wind. And there's like a group of the shorter demi-humans that run see, now that needs to be in the view, and it's not in the view. That's weird. I swear I worked this out before. Did I accidentally press the thing? No. Weird. Okay. I swear that I had this all set up where that fit exactly in the screen, but I bet that was before I put the paper on and expanded the thing with water. So that is probably what happened there. Anyway, so there's like 2 halfling brothers, Grub and somebody else, and I painted those. And Nub, who's like the butcher who's missing a finger, and I think I painted him as well. But Angela Imrie painted this awesome tub, so I never got to paint him. And then when I was looking through, the miniatures on the site that have a turkey, and there are a couple, they were much more American Thanksgiving. So I was like, well, you know what else everybody likes about Thanksgiving is pie. So I went looking. I knew that guy existed. I double checked and I couldn't find any other miniatures with pies. If I'm missing any, please let us know in the chat so we can go find more pie miniatures, because you never know when you're going to need pie miniatures. I'm thinking, like, who doesn't always need pie miniatures? So I'm just going to pick out a few brushes. Probably a few too many brushes. But I think a small creature has come to say hello. Have you come to say hello, boo-boo? Where are you? Okay, where are you? My hallucinating cats. There you are. Here. Yeah, you circled around. Come here and say hi to the people. No. No, you just want to stay in there and burble? Come here. Oh. Okay, bye. She's probably going to go try to convince my husband to give her a snack. But she's going to have trouble because he closed his office door because he's on a phone call. And hopefully you can't hear the dog barking in my neighbor's yard. Their dog isn't normally that barky. I don't know what's happening. They've had children over there, and I feel like the children are having screeching contests, and that's getting the dog riled up. But I do not hear any screeching currently, so I'm at more of a loss. All right, I'm just trying to... I guess the brushes will go here, and if I get this felt thing messed up, that'll just be something that I live with. Did I think about what color I want to paint him? No. Don't know. I wouldn't say there's like... Yes, everyone loves a screeching contest. It was a very fun weekend. I was sitting there trying to be zen, going, I don't care, but really, I kind of cared. I'm not that zen. I'm very bad at it. I'm trying to practice. And I'm not that keen on the sound of either barking dogs or screeching children. I know the dog's probably happy, but I don't know dog noises as well as cat noises, so I can't always tell. I guess like my first instinct is that it's not happy. So Canadian Thanksgiving, and apparently I'd like forgotten this, was originally based on, how would we put it, celebrations in the English church and other churches that are around the Harvest Festival, basically. So it's a Harvest Festival. It's always been a Harvest Festival. It's just a slightly more secular Harvest Festival these days than it once was. And so eating and hanging out with your family are pretty much the way that you celebrate, well, family or friends. But there isn't that same pressure as there is for Americans, I think. Like, if you don't come home from college, your mom isn't going to think you're like the worst kid ever. Because it's on Monday, so it's not a 4-day thing. Like the American holiday, we do our 4-day thing at Christmas because we have Christmas Day, and then the day after is Boxing Day, and that is also a national holiday. So basically, eat food, have fun. Is the holiday. And now I think I should look for places that are going to be hard to reach. Before I forget, Trash says it could have been barking children and screeching dogs, which I don't know if the kids went with that a few times. Maybe they were trying to. I think they were trying to get the dog to bark at some points. But beyond that, I really have no idea what was going on. I'm comforted, I guess, in a way. Not very Thanksgiving thought. But I'm sure that those neighbors don't love us either, because they bought that house during the whole, like, my understanding is house prices are coming down. So they bought not at the height of the crazy prices, but they're pretty up there. They paid at least 3 times more for their house than we did for ours. Now their house has been significantly renovated and improved by the previous not tenants, owners. But I'm sure they don't love living next to people who are very laissez-faire about what our house and our yard and stuff looks like. And they would rather that we were more normal neighbors, but we would rather they were more quiet neighbors, so everybody's got something to be less than thrilled about. This is a great time for a hook brush. Try to get under that apron a little, make sure there's not, I'm seeing a gray spot from this side. And I think I will paint him with jeans, because we all know how, Canadian tuxedo is jeans and a jean jacket. I actually did see a jean wedding dress in a display window once in Canada, which seems like it would be as or more heavy as some of your classic fancy dress fabrics. I feel so. Nope, I prepped and primed a few miniatures last night for upcoming things. I don't know if I have every show mapped out until the end of the year, but I have an idea. I know what I want to do for Halloween now, and I got that fixed up. And I know something I want to do for Christmas. I did not get him ready yet. Then I got something ready for Ron. So I'll look through my the paint kit paints, and I think we have one that conveniently is kind of jeansy. So is this a Canadian dwarf? I guess yes, he is. They tunnel everywhere. We got lots of mountains for them to build their fortresses in. I was trying to think, what would be like a Canadian looking person, and we're a very multicultural society, so there isn't like just one. And I was trying to think, could I make him look okay? This is very drippy, sorry. Quebecois or something, and it's not really, other than trying to, I'm not sure how I would paint Quebecois either. So in case anyone was wondering what the front of those paints was, because I think I only showed the swatch. The darker one is Storm Chaser Blue, and the lighter one is Heather Blue. I like this one a lot for less saturated. I tend to prefer to paint less saturated blues. But what I will do for the highlights is I'm going to use something more like this, because I feel like jeans, in the places where they wear, they start to get like just a little hint of green. So I will attempt to capture that. But you know what? I feel like we don't want to give him, it's a holiday, we don't want to give him like super old pants. Give him somewhat less faded jeans. I have too many brushes on too many sides. Well, I just have too many brushes, full stop. So, and I don't know that I would go around considering this typical of all Canadians. I'm sure that we have some people who are bitter exes as well, because don't feel like that has a nationality. But when I was younger, like my parents got divorced when I was really young, and then they were both with other people when I was really young. So the recombined family with the step parents and stuff was normal to me. It wasn't like something I was traumatized about. I was more upset when my dad and my stepmother got divorced when I was about 16. But even after that, she would host the Thanksgivings usually. And the downside of that is she wasn't so great at making the turkey. It was kind of dry. But the upside is that it was like just the most inclusive Thanksgiving it would be possible to have. So my dad was invited, and whoever he was dating was invited, and my mom and my stepfather were invited, and my sisters, and then whoever they were dating or recently dating or whatever, and my boyfriend. And then when we broke up, that was still fine if he came. So it was we're all a family, regardless of, current romantic inclinations. Especially if you've had kids, you're still tied together, you're still a family. So I thought that was a pretty good way to do things. And that is what we usually do for Thanksgiving. I don't, like, not all of those people always came. Sometimes they would have other things to do. My stepfather's family is quite large, and several of them like to cook a lot, so sometimes we would end up there and have gardens and whatnot. So I just wanted to get a start on the pants before I go back to the eyes. Which, I mean, I'm only going to try so hard on the eyes on stream. If I really hate it, I'll come back later and attempt to fix it. But because they're kind of in there under all these bushy brows, I will paint him as if he is admiring his magnificent opus of a pie, because why wouldn't you? In fact, I'm going to see later today if I can DoorDash a pie here. We forgot to go and buy a pumpkin pie. But I think that the pie store actually does deliver on DoorDash. Yeah, trying to fix this up is going to work so well. So well. So yes, I probably will be returning to these eyes later, because I would normally use a higher magnification. To paint eyeballs, but with all the being old. Which I really feel like I've been reminded of my oldness a lot lately. Like we've been watching several things on TV, and it's like, I feel like I know who that guy is if he were 20 or 30 years younger, and I'm usually correct, and I'm like, oh my god, how is this person that old? And the answer is, oh right, because I am also that old. We've been trying to declutter lately, and I had kind of a miniature related adventure related to that. So some years ago, we've been in a pretty active and large board gaming club, and we were one of the hosts. We'd have people over at our place, And one of the guys he hadn't had as many opportunities to play as he would have liked. And I think he was thinking about moving. So he's like, I'm going to, go through my stuff. I'm going to get rid of a lot of stuff. And it turned out he had a storage unit that he had been renting to keep stuff in. So he's like, could I bring it over to you and you can just give it away to people in the group? And we agreed to this without completely knowing what we were getting into, because he brought over 17 like big plastic bins of stuff from a storage unit, which, okay, sounds fine so far. And he was like a very, poly geek. He liked everything. So there were model kits in there. There were miniatures. There were dioramas. There was terrain. There were war games. There were board games. I'm probably even forgetting some dice and, stuff for making all of those things. There was just a bunch of things in there. And the thing is that when he wasn't part of a group and he didn't have people to play with, he would kind of enjoy his hobby by, like, reading the rules or looking at maps or stuff like that. And then I don't know if this was, he got the storage unit because his apartment was a mess or what the backstory was there. But basically it was 17 tubs of everything mixed together. Like, there were just loose miniatures, and the maps for a board game might be in one place and the rules in another place. So, like, I had to go through all of these bins trying to reassemble the board games, at least, to be usable for the other people to want them. And that was a considerable undertaking, to say the least. But the people in the group really did enjoy the opportunity to have the games for no cost. But there was some stuff that, none of our group was interested in, and I ended up keeping, and that a lot of the miniature stuff and a lot of the model stuff. And then we kind of we don't take this stuff out of the boxes, but apart from that, we have similar problems as this person did, I guess, in the too much stuff having arena. And we are now trying to deal with that. And one of the boxes my husband ran across last night was a box of stuff that I had put aside from this guy's collection. And I think even at the time I had put it aside because, like, oh, these are harder to get things, or they're out of print, or someone who's interested in miniatures might actually want these. I should try to dispose of them, well, not just get them to homes that would appreciate them, and not remembering the part where I'm like super lazy and probably wouldn't ever actually figure that out. So my plan now is to send things to Noble Knight, probably. Anything that's worth a little bit of money. Anything that's not. We have a local store, like their used bookstore, but they also have role-playing games and board games and general geekery and whatnot. So we will use that for that purpose. Yeah. We've already taken some stuff over there. And we'll make less money, but the reality is we're never going to start an eBay empire, and at a certain point you have to decide, is it worth more to me to have the space in my house back than it is to take too much trouble to get rid of things, trying to get them to the right homes and whatnot. So we have decided to not do it that way. But I was looking through this stuff, which then also, in the cardboard box I had put these things in, was, unbeknownst to us, one of the ones that got hit by our flood a few years back. So it wasn't like totally ruined or anything, but about, you could see watermarks about halfway up where the cardboard had soaked up the water, and there were definitely things in there that had, noticeable water damage and possibly damage from insects or mice from our basement. Of garage, because a lot of this stuff is in the garage. And before we got Corbin, who totally was Mr. Mighty Hunter this weekend. It took him like 4 hours, but there was a mouse. He finally, I'm like, could you please just put this poor mouse out of its misery? You're just being mean at this point. Because my husband kept checking and being like, all right, I'll take the mouse out of the garbage. And be like, nope, the mouse is still flailing around attempting to be a mouse. And it's like, oh, I would have been fine if it tried to make a getaway, but it did not. So I was looking through these things and looking stuff up on the web, and some of it is like there was some Warzone stuff, and apparently that's no big whoop. And some other things that I don't remember what they were. Alternative Armies, one of them maybe. But there were some old GW things in there, like 1993 or whatever era that is. And there was the Ralpartha box set, the Black Prince's Chariot of Fear. And what else was there? Oh, a lot of Thunderbolt Mountain dioramas, which at the time, I liked. Well, I still like Tom Meyer. I don't know what I'm saying at the time. But I was being realistic at that point and thinking, no, I'm never going to paint all these dioramas. There are some that I pulled out and are somewhere in my personal collection. But it was like, and he closed it down, so now you can't even get that anymore. So I think that is also worth sending to Noble Knight. Yeah, Green Users knows the pain. They're trying to downsize and get rid of stuff too. What a nightmare. Over the years, because this is not like our first rodeo trying to tame our treasure, as I've been thinking of it. So periodically I've read books or watched videos and stuff on decluttering, articles. Okay, his other ear isn't showing, I guess. And there's some interesting things. There's some psychological elements that explain why it's tough and why you get worn out by it and why your brain fights you. And I have found it helpful to know that stuff. Like the sunk cost fallacy. And this actually, in some ways, I find for me almost applies more in terms of time investment. It was helpful for me to think about. But the idea behind that is whether the thing is in your house or in the landfill or in someone else's house, you still paid the $50. So, you paid 50, you're like, I can't throw this out. I paid $50 for it. Okay, great. Are you using it? No. If you're not using it, it's getting in the way of you getting to the stuff you do want to use. You're paying rent on it. Like part of your rent or your mortgage or whatever is going to housing your things. It's costing you money. It's costing you time and space. It's costing you sanity. Does it really matter that you paid $50 for it? Or that you spent X amount of time on it? Like for, last year when I was going through, is that his little ear? Throw some skin tone in there. Just in case. I was going through some of my half-finished miniatures and deciding whether or not I wanted to keep those. And it was a similar thing. It was like, okay, yes, I've put in 10 or 20 or whatever hours on this. If I wanted to finish it, wouldn't I have already? Am I not finishing it because I really don't want to? So is it better to just not have to see this thing that's making me feel bad on my shelf all the time? I was trying to think about stuff like that. Because my dream is that we get our stuff down to a level where we can find and display and enjoy the things we really do care about. And not have all this other stuff in the way. That is my dream. Will it ever happen? But I do feel much more ruthless than I ever have before because I'm just old and tired now. And I guess that is the upside of being old and tired, is that I'm ready to be like, okay, get out of here. I want the space. As cool as you are, I can't keep you. And then I know everyone likes to kind of dump on Marie Kondo, especially she said that thing about books, and everyone was like clutching their pearls. And that was an example of how she does her own thing. Like for her, when she finishes a book, she's gotten what she needs out of it. She no longer needs the physical book. She wasn't saying that everybody should have 50 books. Because her whole thing is, does this bring you joy and whatnot? But she kind of has this, she actually is really into stuff. Like she almost personifies her stuff. And part of that was she's like, if you have something, even if you didn't use it for the thing you intended to use it for, you can thank it for its service. It did whatever it was supposed to do for you. You don't need it anymore. You can thank it and move on. And I'm trying to keep that in mind too. Like, okay, I bought this thing for this project, but if I haven't been into this project enough to do it, maybe it's okay to just say thank you and move on. Well, that blue is very bright. Let's not put that in. Jeans are not that bright in the shadows, especially. That was me grabbing the wrong paint before. Let's see. Valender the Red has a crazy elderly kitty. Yes, I understand how that goes. I'm kind of surprised that Ella was willing to just, walk on and let it go. But she did. Perhaps we will see her more later. Or maybe she did manage to convince my husband to do whatever she was trying to get him to do, which is probably give her snacks. Which is fine for her. She needs the snacks. But then Corbin also shows up, who doesn't need the snacks, and he just gives you this face if you give her the snacks. He's like, what? He's very good at the guilt. He's a big ham overactor cat. So even when you're staring right at him, and it's very clear that he's not starving, sometimes he kind of convinces you that he is. Or my husband, at least. I'm a little less of a soft touch for the pitiful pets. I'm like, yeah, make the face at me all day long. I don't care. But that's not entirely true. I do what Ella wants because I'm her person and she's old and you get to have what you want when you're an old kitty. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that for old people, but alas. I'll just have to go on myself. So in a world where I was trying to be fancy, I would try to evoke the texture of the jeans even. But I don't know if this is that world. Can I do it quickly? Maybe if I'd done the highlights first, I could have done with one of those brushes. One of those dome brushes we've been having fun with. But I think that I will just content myself for a general look of jeansiness. If something isn't going to be photographed, you really would not see texture on this scale, but it is fun to do sometimes. said that I wanted to mix some yellow in to get the greeniness of jeans. So let's try doing some of that. Under this Red's kitty is 18 years old, and somehow last night she got out of the house. Oh no. This morning, the neighbor kids got my attention at the window and pointed, and she was curled up against the door. She's now underneath her bed within reach if needed. Gray Mouser says that old age is working for his dad to get whatever he wants. Yeah, this kitty, she seems to have forgotten, again, every few years, she will forget that she does not like outside. That she, in fact, finds it a terrifying, horrible place. And she'll get curious again. But I'm hoping that since she's a little older and slower, it's less likely to happen. The last time it happened was super fun because Corbin could see her from through the basement window, but because he couldn't smell her, he didn't realize who she was. So he was doing there's a strange cat, I must freak out and sound all the alarms, and he wouldn't move away from the window so that I could get her to come to the door. And finally, I had to pick him up and lock him in the bathroom and go get her. And it was like, oh my gosh, you guys did not need to make this annoying. And then once she was inside, he was like, oh, right, that's my friend, sort of. That's my friend who doesn't want to be my friend. And Archer was still alive then. He must have just been somewhere else ignoring all of this. He must have been like, nope, I'm too old for all of this. That's up to you guys now. All right, good enough on the pants. We'll give him a little, I'll fill in the line of shadow, which is what lining is usually doing. I think I might want to give him brown shoes though. But did I think about the color scheme in advance? Emphatically not. Did I even look up what a pie looks like? No. I figured I could do that on my phone while we're talking. And call it good. I should have a pie in my house to study, up close and personal. We used to get our pumpkin pies at Perkins, the pancake place. But at last, Perkins, the pancake place that was near us, closed down. And we have a very kind friend who occasionally makes us homemade pumpkin pies. But she cannot eat solids currently, so I suspect that she's not going to be into making pies just yet, maybe by Christmas. She fell, and when they looked at the x-rays, they're like, well, if you don't eat anything, you can, if you don't chew anything, I won't wire your jaw shut. But otherwise, you're this close to the kind of fracture that needs your jaw wired shut. So. Gray Mouser is having lemon crumble for Thanksgiving. This is why I'm painting the pie dwarf tub, because Canadian Thanksgiving. All right. I kind of tried to do a little wet blending on his skin as we went, but let's add more. Not more. Well, I'm probably not going to do more wet blending, but let's add more, stuff on his skin. Okay. How much did I mess that up? Just a little. There we go. All right. Is he still well lit? Hopefully. Hopefully the lighting's a little better than last week. I think I hadn't got the lamp set up exactly right last time. I need more of this one. So I'm just Just using the skin paints that are in the Learn to Paint kit, other than I added just a little tiny smidge of red. You know, he's been exerting himself in the hot kitchen. I wanted him to look a little more flushed. Lemon crumble for Thanksgiving, huh? I don't know. It sounds delicious, but I don't know if it sounds like a harvest pie. We have friends who do like some kind of a pie exchange with some members of their family, but basically they'll just have a pie day and they end up with like more than a dozen kinds of pie at their house, and they're just eating pie for dinner. Like they're not even pretending that they're gonna have something else. They just eat pie. And I guess they had enough one year. They invited us over after they were sure everyone had their fill of pie, and we got to have some pie, which was nice. He's a pretty muscular baker. I guess he kind of, you know, hauling the flour around, the big heavy pans, it would make sense. Why don't I check his face too? That would be a thing to do. He's going to need a big shadow under this nose. Very prominent nose. And a little bit more on his ears there. Wait until the air dries a bit more. I'll go back to the arms. Let's see. Oh, your dad bakes on his days off from space marining. Oh my, delicious. That sounds pretty lucky for you. I mean, assuming he shares the bounty with you. I have never been much of a baker, and I think it's that thing where, you know, they say cooking is art and baking is science, and you gotta do all the things. Plus, my mom complained about pie crust a lot, so. I mean, she was, you know, we didn't typically have dessert with meals. It would be like, you know, every now and then she'd make banana bread, and very occasionally pumpkin pie or apple pie. I think apple. There are some places where I did not get enough paint. So this guy is Bones USA, and he's a little shiny because I did decide to prime him. just for extra durability. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of hard life I'm gonna make the Canadian Thanksgiving pie guy go through. But I suppose if we ever do start role-playing in person again, he can... My husband loves having lots of townspeople and stuff, so he'll be ready to go. And I'm not going to object to having townspeople who want to give us pie. Though I suppose it will depend on context. You know, the cake is a lie, but is the pie a trap? I feel like he's really clutching this rolling pin, so I want to accentuate the knuckles a little bit. He is ready to thump whoever does not enjoy his pie sufficiently, I would say. Come back to that ear before I forget again. That is a fun ear. I mean, look at all the little details of ear anatomy that are in there. Okay, this is one of those. The bristles aren't getting in someplace. So now I must contort myself. Deals. Not decided on a hair color yet. I had been thinking about black, but I see now that Angela already painted him in black and hair and beard very nicely. Which is not to say that I couldn't do it again, but it's nice to give people a different view of characters. So I'll probably go another way. I painted the butcher guy with like very bright red hair and beard, so I don't think I want to do that. The halflings that run the shop are related. I mean, not that this guy can't be whatever lore I want him to be. I don't have to follow what people told me. But since I painted a bunch of the other ones already, I think at least one of the halflings I painted was pretty blonde. I think I gave them both similar hair colors since they're brothers. And they otherwise looked, you know, they didn't have like super similar facial features and stuff. So I think I gave them similar coloring to accentuate the being brothers thing. Which I kind of feel is leaving me with brown for this guy. But what kind of brown? Because there are many, many, many kinds of brown. Many, many, many. That's like the paint colors. Can you have enough brown? No. Hi, Ella, are you back? I'm pretty sure Kevin gave you your din-din. Alright, I'm messing with the spot. I should just let dry. Because I don't always know well enough to leave well enough alone. So, no one other than Bob and Julie have tales of decluttering to share, wisdom to pass on for the what do you do if you have too many treasures and you can't enjoy your treasures because everything's getting in the way. I feel like Bob and Julie and I are not the only people who have this problem. Collectors and geeks and whatnot. Yeah, am I seeing it focused at all? Alright, so that highlight is clearly like a pretty big jump from the previous one. But I'm just going to go with it and then circle back and fix it. For the sake of expediency. Probably also got a little bit thickened up on my palette. I feel like I may not have put enough water in, or it's just the heat is coming on a bit now, and it's an adjustment from how paint acts in the summer. Is probably more what it is. So now I try to repair what I messed up. Carrie Michael Cosby. So far, I just get more organized. We are about to the point that my husband wants to buy a bigger house to store the stuff, so we may need to declutter as well. Yeah, it's there is a point where organization will only take you so far, and the answer is you have to get rid of stuff. And I'm way past that point. It would be such a pain to move with all the things that I feel like we probably want to do it now before moving is on the radar. But it's always worth trying to pare down stuff you don't need. It builds up. I found that moving when I was younger, that was what kind of kept it in check, I guess, is I rented, so I moved a lot. When you're packing, you're like, do I like this enough to pack it? Nope. And having your own home for any length of time removes that pressure that apparently I needed to have applied. I think that hand got a little too dark for the amount of light that would be hitting it. It's perpendicular, not actually rolling under. So. making it better? Not 100% sure that I am. Okay, now Ella is having a lot of feelings. But unfortunately, what she wants me to do is leave this room and go to another room and lie down and let her stand on me, which is not something I can do while streaming. So alas, I must disappoint you, kitty. But do you want to jump up and have snuggles? Does that mean yes? All right, hold on. Let me just finish the nose a little bit more. And then we'll do that. We'll say hi to everybody, okay? I wonder if she didn't like dinner. Sometimes they have things that, like, well, you liked this before, so I don't know if it really does taste massively different or what is happening in their tiny brains. But she found the crunchies in this room, so I think she's gonna be happy with the crunchies. I just love the character in the nose, so that is why I'm going a little bit nuts on it, I guess. And I'm gonna thin some of that red down, way down. And people often have a lot of red on their ears. Put some there. Put some on his nose. Just throw a little bit, a few places on the arms to coordinate. I kind of wanted to, I don't think I included that spot in the initial set of highlights, or where was it, this spot? Just to bring out the musculature a little more. So I think I can live with that. What comes next? His shirt, I would say. Well, he's got a shirt and another shirt. So I guess it's probably more like he's got a shirt and a jerkin or something. Tunic. Shirt and a tunic? That's probably more correct. Well, can I give him a pink shirt and work in some Breast Cancer Awareness Month pink that I just received? This will be interesting since I don't think I have any pink paint. Maybe like purpley pink. Put some kind of wacky color here. What grays do I have? Mountain stone, sure, why not? This is very pink. I'm not sure if I'm going to regret my choice. I'm trying to work that in. I think I do want a lighter color than what it currently is. There's a lot of white in that, so it really took it down. And that's my, oh, it's not too goopy. Yeah, we'll just go to blue liner, assuming I can figure out what I do with it. Gotta get a bit more saturation in there. For midtones, you can't lose all the saturation right away. I still have to figure out that other shirt. So much layering in medievally accurate people. Then I think this is probably meant to be like a hood cowl thing that is really part of that same garment. And even if it isn't, today we're saying that it is. I think that little bit is meant to be his hair, but I can't see any place else that his hair is showing to make sure, but what the heck, I will do that. His hair. And pinks and reds and these kinds of colors are actually, you know, I think I've spoken before about how people always want to paint peasants and common folk and whatnot with just like brown, gray, brown, more brown, and some brown, and some gray. But there were a lot of plants, and in this case, the madder plant is the one that would make pink and red dyes. It's not great for paint. That's what alizarin crimson and madder lake, and a lot of those paints, the historical versions, were made from they treat the dye to kind of turn it into a pigment, but it's not very light fast, so it's not a great paint. As much as alizarin crimson is one of like the best paint names, it is not great to use actual real alizarin crimson to paint with, because it is fugitive enough to, you know, fade in your lifetime and be noticeable. To fade within 10 years and be noticeable, honestly. But great color for dyeing clothes back in the day. And this blue is indigo woad. There are several plants that have the indigo compound in it. The actual indigo plant has the most of it, but woad is the same thing, and you can do multiple dye baths where you dip it again and again and again to make it darker. So also a completely appropriate color for non-rich, non-industrial people to be wearing. I need a darker version of this now. This is not why I chose pink. I was kind of thinking if his hair is brown and we do like a yellowy brown, then we have blue, and we have yellow, then we're most of the way to a blue, red, yellow color scheme triad. So why don't I make something red? And so I did. Barry Kirmingham. I only know Alizarin Crimson because of Bob Ross. Yep, it's one of the classics. But a lot of companies selling paint now, it's usually not the original alizarin crimson pigment. But this is sometimes why it's worth learning a little bit about pigment and pigment numbers if you want to start buying like artist type paints, like from Golden or Liquitex or whatever. And they will usually put some kind of like fastness information on the package of paint somewhere. Might have to hunt around for it a little bit, but it'll be there somewhere. Now, if I am kind of painting him like how people dressed historically, this undershirt thing should be a light color. And its function was basically to help keep your clothes nicer longer, because the biggest dirt wear stressor that your clothes have is your body. So not wearing your clothes directly next to your skin, having a cheap shirt or something like that was something people did. I did prep him up some before I primed him, so I tried to get rid of some of the mold lines. I was not entirely successful, I see. But I was trying to get through a handful of minis last night. So I could only spend so long with Tub, the Dwarf Baker, who I think Quinty has probably put in the links in chat if you wish to acquire your own tub. Because what campaign does not need this guy offering you a suspicious pie. Because, I mean, I have to say, I do think that his pie offer is kind of suspicious. As Tub the Dwarf Baker, as a Canadian wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, he's not at all suspicious. I mean, everybody loves Canadians, right? Let's see. Barry Curringham is also mentioning Phthalo Blue, Van Dyke Brown, Titanium White. All classic Bob Ross colors, and you get some of those. Almost every white you use from anybody is going to be titanium white. There's like one other white that is commonly used in paints, and it's much less commonly used than titanium white. So you can pretend you're Bob Ross when you use pure white or anybody else's white. Phthalo Blue, very common, very common. So this paint that I said, oh my gosh, that's too saturated, that's got some phthalo blue in there, very clearly. Almost all the blue paints, I mean, I'm pretty sure all of the like straight up blues are going to have phthalo blue in them. In the Reaper line, some companies may use some other pigments as well. I don't know. Everyone, I mean, Phthalo's in pens and pencils, and it's everywhere. Phthalo's everywhere. Rainbow 67. He looks like a fun little guy. I wonder what kind of pie he has there. Well, for Canadian Thanksgiving, I prefer to have pumpkin, but Grey Mouser has lemon crumble, which I think is very different. Apple would be a traditional harvest type celebration pie as well. The Mad Teabagger. I just got home from the local game store where I picked Reaper Bones Black Moonlack and Skorg Fire Giant King. Oh, you're going to be painting some big stuff. I have something. Is it Moonlack? I have something around here that I was thinking about busting out. I'm painting something bigger. But that will probably have to wait until after the holidays, because like I said, I have a pretty full holiday schedule of miniatures I'm working on planning for you guys. And then maybe even, I was debating whether for some of December we celebrate Do It December, which is me finishing some stuff that we started and never finished. Because there's lots of that, isn't there? I rediscovered that lizard man I worked on a while back. And then there was, for those who came in a bit later, where did he go? Oh my gosh, how have I lost? There he is. We've got Mako, the Tiki Shark. This is what I was working on last week. And I definitely want to finish him, because he's super fun and different from the kind of thing I usually get to paint. And he's a charity fundraiser miniature that Reaper has for sale. $7.50 of every blister they sell goes to a charity for the victims of the Maui wildfires. So I want to finish him. And that lizard man was pretty far along. I think I'd like to finish him too. So next week I might go back to Mako. unless, you know, someone has a strong request for something. And then I don't think it's Halloween yet. Did I look at these weeks that I've been planning? No, clearly not. But so far I know what I want to do for actual Halloween, or the stream that's closest to Halloween, because that's probably not on Monday this year. And that will be a sepia toned figure. So I picked out the one I want. And because one year I did like a greeny, glowy ghost type monochromatic figure. Then last year I did a vampire, like a black and white movie. So that two times is enough to call it a tradition in my mind. And I think it would be fun to do a monochrome sepia tone. So I got that all prepped up. And see if I can give you a few clues, and you can see if you try and guess it. So it's not a super new miniature. It is in both bones and metal. And actually there are two in the pack, but I think that my attempting to paint two miniatures in one session would be extremely ambitious, but I did prep up the second one, you know, just in case something freezes over or I want to go on working on it like the next week, I guess. I mean, last year I did two Halloween miniatures because I did a tabletop-ish style that matched, you know, similar color scheme to the Reaper figure that I'd done for Cynthia the what? She's a witch, but I swear it's Cynthia something. Cynthia. Well, I'm blanking. Even though I painted her twice, that doesn't mean I know what her name is. Cynthia the Wicked. There's why we love Quindy, because she's right there with the words when my brain completely goes, nope, I will not retain this information for you. As it so often does. But this year's Halloween mini, I do have to show you. Where is it? So I had to place an order, partly because Ron had to send me something, and it makes it easier for him. So I got my ghoulie bag. This is, I think it is, Quindy can confirm, with $40 a purchase, you get the ghoulie bag, one per day. It has actual candies. This one is apparently a burger. And at first I thought that this was like just an insane amount of mustard to put on a burger. And then my husband was like, no, I think that's meant to be cheese. I'm like, okay. And so you get these two paint colors. Let's crack it open. Let's see those a little more. Quindy's confirming it is $40. If you go to the Reaper front page, there's like a big banner that says ghoulie bag that you can click. And we'll have more reliable information than I come with. So it comes with Nightmare Black, which is actually got a lot of a certain blue that we might have just been talking about. So I'll put some of that on my palette, actually. And then Dungeon Slime, which I used a lot on Cynthia the Wicked last year. But this is our new Halloween mini, and she's fun and spooky. Jason Weeby did this one. She's just awesome. And you can see a painted picture of this. Carrie, was this you, I think, that painted this? I'm not sure. I knew, and then my brain chose to discard this information. All right, let's take a quick look at the Nightmare Black. So that was another blue that had some phthalo in it. This is a darker one. So this is one of those ones, it looks black when you just put it out of the bottle, but as you start to thin it out, you can see all that awesome blue. And I'm not sure that I shook it enough. Carrie Michael Cosby thinks Daryl painted her. Ah, that would make sense too. Or Michael Janae? I know he's working on some stuff right now. I think it had gotten a bit gooped up from its travels. So I end up not using this very often because I like to have much less saturation in my shadows as a rule. I think there's probably some interesting stuff you could do with this, but I know there are a lot of people who love Nightmare Black. So if you haven't tried it yet, now's a chance to try it in the goodie bag. And then I do not think there's any way I could possibly work Dungeon Slime into this dwarf. But it is a nice, glowy, creepy green. And I bet they mix together all right. Ooh, I like that. That's pretty. That's kind of a better version of my yellowy jeans look that I was going for. So I like to try to do my lining after I get an area, you know, at least a little bit covered in paint, whether it's just a base coat or wet blending or whatever. And then I'll add the shading or highlighting or washes or whatever I'm going to do. And often I'll have to repair a little bit of the lining here and there. But it's not as nerve-wracking as I paint everything and it looks wonderful, and then I'm trying to do this dark line without getting, you know, where I'm being perfect on both sides of the line. So I try to find a way to only have to be perfect on one side of the line. This is one reason I find mouths challenging, because you're painting them after the skin. I mean, it's not a problem for this guy because he's got all this beard and whatnot. But for like a lady's nice lips, I'm painting it after I've painted the skin. And both sides of the line matter. So it is more challenging for me. So that is why I'm stopping to do lining now. Then I am making my life more challenging because apparently I'm just going to leave this shirt until the end. And it's sandwiched between two other things I'll have painted. But, you know, I can't be sensible all the time. Where would the fun be in that? The real question is, can I be sensible any of the time? And my existence so far suggests not so much, but that's okay. I'll keep trying. Let's see, we've got lively chat here. Monday the 30th. Oh, so I'll be painting right the day before Halloween. Excellent. Carrie Michael Cosby. I know they announced you painted on Reaper Live when they showed the mini, but I don't remember for certain who it was. Quindy also thinks it's Daryl and confirms. Because that is the nice thing about the website. It will tell you these things as a rule. Who sculpted things and who painted them. We're not going to say Ron never gets it wrong, because occasionally he does. But he tries very hard, which is a lot more, you know, a lot of companies you don't know anything about who did anything. So I appreciate that Reaper shares all this info with us. Try to look for someplace a little unobtrusive to start so I can try to judge if I'm going too dark or whatever. But I also have my fix it after method. Going too dark and then kind of fixing it is a way to help push your contrast. If you're someone who you keep wanting to do the thing where everybody tells you to do more contrast, and then you find you finished the miniature and you kind of wimped out and you held back and things look too weird to you. Sometimes doing it messy like this and then coming back and fixing the in-between points can help, because you decide in advance. It's like, okay, I want to be at least this dark, and I actually probably want to be a little darker than that in a few spots, but I did want the shirt to be lighter in value than the pants. So you decide, you know, I want to be at least this dark, and then you put that darkness on and paint to make it work, and then you kind of have to commit to it and work around it. It's one way to help, because part of the problem when you're trying to change how you paint in any respect, you're trying to learn a new technique, or you know, push your contrast, or do OSL, or non-metallic metal, something that you don't normally do. Your brain is used to things looking like you normally do them. So when you try to do something different, your brain goes, well, clearly something is wrong with this. It doesn't look like what we usually do. And you're not conscious that this is happening. This is just you're sitting there looking at something and you're going, oh no, it doesn't look right. I better pull that back. And it's like, sometimes you have to stop yourself and go, okay, I don't want it to look like what I normally do because I'm trying a new thing. So I need to just ride it out until it gets further along and I can see whether it worked or not. Let's see. I'm surprised he isn't credited as the painter on the Ghoulie Bag promotion. Oh, on the page? Oh, I didn't realize he wasn't. Quindy will mention it because it should say, and I agree, and that it doesn't list the sculptor, which is Jason. I had the blister here somewhere. How have I lost this already? Because did we get to look at it enough? Did we get to look at this super fun, Gertie Gristle breath enough? If y'all want me to pop this out of the blister, you let me know. So I'll just put this over here until someone says in chat whether they want me to pop that out of the blister for a closer look. Reaper Bot just shared in the chat the link to the Challenge League, which is, so there are various kind of challenges that you earn points for, and it pushes you to kind of work on projects that you might be wanting to finish for yourself. Like there might be, you have to paint something where there's like 3 miniatures, or you have to use certain colors or something. I let Ron give me my challenges, so I don't actually know what the current challenges are. But I think it's super cool, and that if Ron wasn't giving me the challenges, that is something that I would find helpful to have in my life. And if someone in chat wants to share more about the Reaper Challenge League, I think we will be happy to hear that. Because my description is probably vague and unhelpful. Following the link will also give you more information, I'm sure. But for the benefit of those people who are going to be watching this on YouTube later and don't have helpful chat links, I will repeat wisdom that people say in chat. Submissions for October for the Reaper Challenge League just opened up about 15 minutes ago, says Quindy, and Greymaster says that is great timing. So if you're someone who does better finishing tasks when you've got like a buddy to work out with, or you've got a deadline, you made a promise to someone, this is the exact thing for you, which many of us are like that. I know that's one of the reasons that I think contests and stuff like the MSP Open and other even contests where, you know, really only super amazing painters are going to win, or at least are going to win the top prizes. I still think it's worth entering if it helps motivate you to just do the thing. And that's when I first started out, I did a lot of stuff for contests just because it made me finish miniatures. And then sometimes it would also make me take, skills that I had been working on, more advanced techniques or something, but I was too nervous about them. Sometimes a contest would be the way that I push myself to actually do those things, because it was like, okay, well, I got to bust out something pretty cool for this, or the contest would actually be, this should include non-metallic metal or whatever. And it helped me get my butt moving on some of those things. So I recommend having some kind of deadline commitment or whatever if you're the kind of person who thinks like that. Like myself. So a great number of the miniatures I painted when I was first starting out were really for contests, because I kind of kept myself painting that way. I gotta figure out if there's somewhere else I can put this monitor. It's very hard for me to check whether I am remotely in focus with the way I have the lights and stuff now. But I can see chat really well, and that's very important. All right. Now, I need to go a little lighter. And probably I need to add some water as we go a little lighter, because it has been my experience that colors that have a lot of white in them, they're more opaque, so you need to add a little water when you're doing layering and stuff like that to make them more transparent, so you don't get, harsh lines if you don't want them. I mean, if you're painting texture, you sometimes don't want to thin stuff down, because then it doesn't cover well enough to show the texture. See that my smoothing out project wasn't completely successful here on the back. But I'm going to try not to get too obsessive about that. Because none of us have time on this stream for me to paint the obsessive way that I do, left to my own devices. And it's good for me to not do that sometimes. It's good to do some stuff that's different to the way you usually do it on occasion. Well, that was, yes, I had picked out it's not a Christmas miniature, but a winter miniature, because I've done a lot of Christmas. Like, we talked about black. I think we talked about green on St. Patrick's. I mean, not that, we can't talk about colors again, because they're going to go on being colors that we use and everything. But I thought a nice wintry blue coal type of thing would be fun instead of red this year. But that's the miniature. I didn't think about it until after I was doing my prepping last night. So I will have to prep again. It will also be a chance for me to do a limited color kind of challenge that isn't monochrome. So I've done the monochrome thing, and we're going to be doing the monochrome thing again on the 30th. But there are ways of painting with a limited number of paint bottles where the goal isn't to have it look like something like, when I'm painting monochrome, the goal is to have it look like a black and white movie or a sepia tone photograph or whatever, weird ghosty thing. With a limited palette system, you're not necessarily trying to make it obvious on the miniature that you had fewer colors to work with. So it's a different kind of challenge than the monochromatic. And I'm not sure I've done that here. I mean, we've done some, like when I did Elanter, The Lost Prince, I picked out a set of colors, and everything had to come from those set of colors, and we were matching against a photograph for the color scheme. But that wasn't like a high, it was 10 or 11 colors. It wasn't like super limited. All right, Quindy says, the Reaper Challenge League is Reaper Discord-based challenges with monthly, quarterly, and a couple of bi-yearly and yearly categories. Most of them are solo categories, but some are group categories, which means you have to work with other painters, I believe. You submit, get points, and quarterly there are raffles where you have a chance to win credit to reapermini.com, or you can save up and directly exchange 50 points for $10 of credit. HM Road Dog, just subscribe. Wow, thank you for 44 months. Holy crap. Hi, HMR. HM Road Dog, not HMR Road Dog. Quindy continues, all of the info is at that link on the forum or down in the RCL section of the Discord. If you have questions about categories or whether something qualifies, we're always happy to help. There's a specific channel on the Discord for questions related to the Reaper Challenge League. And Limited Palette, which I thought it was, is one of the Reaper Challenge League categories with different monthly colors. And every month there's also a freebie category, says Great Mouser, which I assume means you did something, and it's like the middle square of bingo. You get to count something, right? Am I interpreting it correctly? So if you're working on something that doesn't quite fit into one of the other categories. I've already kind of decided the colors I'm using, so I'm pretty sure I won't be using the Reaper Challenge League colors for December. Because it's going to be the same miniature, probably not exactly the same palette. I think I'm going to switch one paint of something that I painted with 4 colors like 1 million years ago. It's actually one of Ron's favorite miniatures I've ever painted still, I think. But I thought it would be fun to try it again. And maybe change out that one color, which I actually think will make a fairly significant difference if I change out that one color. But I haven't sat down and, tested out colors or anything yet. Because December is a minute away. Maybe I should get through my August stuff first. Because have I figured out what I'm painting for this sepia thing? Like, as a concept, sure, sepia tone. What actual paint am I going to use for sepia tone? What an excellent question that I don't have an answer to. Haven't even thought about it. I think I need to go look at some sepia tone photos and see what I think. Would be cool. I'm trying to remember. There's a series of books, and they made one of them into a movie with Eva Green, Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children, something like that. I don't know if anyone here has read that, but it's interesting in that the book is actually inspired by weird old-timey photographs that this guy has seen or found. So some of it's probably trick photography or something, but there's just weirdness in the video or in the photos. So he turned that into characters and situations. I think it's at least a trilogy now. I'm not sure if there was even another one after the trilogy. I've read the first 2 or 3 and seen the movie, which was pretty good. It's visually very cool, but it's just interesting looking at those old photographs and how people were trying to make freaky photographs back in the day. Quindy is confirming that the freebie category means you can enter one figure where it doesn't matter if it fits a category, and that even includes it can be a non-Reaper miniature. There's a quarterly large freebie, so you can enter a larger scale or bust model from any manufacturer as well. So there's lots of options to push yourself to get painting. So you can see that as I've gone up in lighter value, it is getting a little thicker and streakier. I probably skipped again, but you can, like I was saying before, it's a way to push your values if you don't tend to highlight enough. It works with highlighting as well as shadowing. Now this approach is going to be more annoying with some colors than others, like very transparent colors. This becomes annoying because you just have to paint over and over and over to get those middle tones back. Like I had to do some of that with Ziba the Afridi because of the red, and I ended up, I wasn't trying to, it wasn't because I was trying to push the extremes, but I ended up putting some shadows where I decided it should be lighter, and it was very, very, very annoying to kind of fix it up and get everything to look smooth and stuff. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be here for 1,000 years. Because it was, a female character skin, but large, so painting it smooth with my methods was a pain in the butt. Well, I airbrushed part of it, but it was after I did the airbrushing when I was like, okay, now I need to refine this shadow and refine this highlight and so on. I don't think that this jerkin is like the star of the story. I think that we're gonna want to go really nuts with the contrast on his beard, so I'm not gonna worry too much more about the shirt. Just make sure that I've got some highlights. A few more spots. And then call it good. But I think I do want to make sure I'm bringing out some of the edges, the hems and whatnot. he's got some nice sculpted wear marks. You know, it's tough being a baker. Running around all day in the hot kitchen. We'll accentuate that a little. I'm not going to worry about not accentuating that on his pants. His feet are not the story by any stretch of the imagination. Where are we time-wise? Oh, we're getting pretty close to the end. I did not realize. I think that I will save the shirt. I'll do the shirt and apron, kind of similar colors. And that will probably be in similar colors. I have to decide what to do for this cake pan. So my friend that makes us pie sometimes, she usually does it in this really pretty blue Pyrex pie plate. So perhaps in honor of my friend, I will make it blue. But yes, shocking probably no one. I have not finished the miniature in one go. Hopefully you will be okay with me working on him another time. Maybe I'll wait and bust him out again for American Thanksgiving, where pie is still very relevant. I was thinking about doing another figure for that, but maybe it makes more sense to just do one this year and actually get it done. I think getting something done would be fun and satisfying. I don't think Anne should get to have all the fun of actually finishing miniatures. I should be able to do it occasionally too. Since I had this mountain stone out on my palette, I thought I might as well throw it on here. Although I guess we could paint this more as like kitchen tiles. Perhaps I will do that. Maybe not like my kitchen tile. Well, not the floor tiles. We fixed that, but the tiles on my backsplash are still wonderful 70s lemon yellow. I mean, they're good sturdy tiles, though, I'll say that. They've held up. But is this my first color choice? No, it is not. Am I handy enough to fix it? No, I am not. I'm more concerned about having the super dark wood cabinet look of that era too, which my understanding is wood cabinet look is kind of coming back, and it's like, I do not care. I don't want dark wood cabinet. I want to lighten up my kitchen. Gel tip. Sorry for my silence today. I am one of the few that don't get this day off, so I am lurking while working, but I've been here the whole time. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you, despite having to work. Hopefully you're getting, you know, time and a half or double time and a half or something else to make it worth missing the day, and that there will still be lots of pie and delicious goodies for you. For people who came late and don't know why we're talking about Thanksgiving, this is Thanksgiving in Canada, and I'm originally from Canada. So I thought it would be fun to paint a miniature that kind of had a Thanksgiving air, and I remembered this guy has a pie, which is, I'm not going to lie, my favorite part of Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't hate turkey dinner or whatever, but pie. I do like pie. So I've been working on this fine fellow because he has a pie, and I'm pretty sure I couldn't find any other miniature. I even looked at like their little adventuring accessory things, and I'm like, isn't there a pie in one of those? But alas, there is not. Because then I could have made any miniature I want, a pie miniature. But what else will I show you quickly before we leave? This is the Scarneck Hobgoblin, although his name is actually Cardag. I'm not sure. Cadarg? I'm not sure why it's not on the blister. He's the mini of the month. So if you make an order from the Reaper site for $40 or equivalent currency, you get one of these for free, or you can just buy one. But you will also get the Ghoulie bag, which this year includes Gertie Gristlebreath, the witch, and she's super awesome. Nobody asked me to take her out of the package, so I haven't yet. Maybe next week. And you will get, in this Ghoulie bag, is also Dungeon Slime and somewhere Nightmare Black, which is this really dark blue that I had out on my palette. And that color next to it is the Dungeon Slime. And then candy. I have not eaten my candy yet. And I will just roll back for a sec. To show the painted Cadarg. The Scarneck Hobgoblin. Who, he's so lonely. Will he be lonely forever? I don't know. Will he be the only Hobgoblin? Maybe, maybe not. But that's what Reaper has going on right now. And I think my camera, the cord makes it move, and I think it moved over. Turn that off. So I'm going to call that it for today. Quindy's going to find us a raid so that we can keep enjoying fun hobby or hobby adjacent streams. Thank you all for coming, and you were like very chatty and helpful with answering questions and telling people about the quarterly contest. Go check it out. If you need a push to paint, it is a wonderful way to do that. Or even if you don't need a push to paint, you just want to feel like you're painting with people. It's fun for that too. Is there something I'm forgetting? I don't think so. I'm just gonna kind of ramble on while Quindy looks for somebody fun to raid. And I really do appreciate you all coming in, keeping me company while I paint. Let's see, we're going to raise CAP Mastor. So say hi, spread the Reaper love. I'll see you next week.